Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to have you here. My name is Fola Alade, and I'm going to be your mediator for today, but you can please call me Fola. So can I get to meet the parties, please? I think on my right, I see Heritage Factories. Can I get to meet you?
Yes, it's me. My name is David, and I'm representing our company, Heritage Factories.
Okay. Hello, David. How may I address you? Can I call you David or Mr. David?
Yes, David.
David. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, then I have Harvey Spector on my right. Hello, Harvey. How are you today?
Hello, Mr. Mediator.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time and giving us an opportunity to present our matter to you. So I am a lawyer for my client, Andrew Goldman.
Okay, so how may I address you?
Mr. Harvey.
Mr. Harvey. Okay, then Mr. Harvey will do. Okay, thank you so much.
And are you okay being addressed as Mr. Mediator?
I think I'll prefer Fola, if you could call me Fola.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Can I please confirm if you have a letter of authority mandating you to represent your company?
Yes, of course.
Yes, okay. And how about you, Harvey? Do you have a letter of authority?
Yes, I do have a letter of authority.
Okay, then. Thank you so much. Okay. So before we start, I would like to confirm if you can hear me clearly. If there are no audio,
yes.
Yeah, great. Okay. So I would like to first of all commend parties for choosing mediation as an amicable way of resolving disputes. It's important to state at this point that state my role as a mediator. I'm not a judge. I'm a facilitator. And my job is to facilitate an amicable resolution of the issues in contention. Sometimes there may be a tendency for me to speak a bit too fast. If I'm speaking too fast, please call my attention to it so I can slow down. Yeah, and essentially this mediation is going to be divided into three parts. The first part is the plenary session, which is usually called the introductory phase, where parties get to state the issues in contention. Then once we're done with that, we'll move over to the second phase, which is called the caucus or the breakout, where I, as a mediator, would have private confidential discussions with you there. And if there is any need for me to have that conversation outside the caucus, with your permission, I can always talk about it to the other party. And the third phase will definitely be the conclusion. It's important to state at this point some of the benefits of mediation and what it is we're trying to achieve. First of all is that mediation is confidential. Confidential in the sense that whatever it is we say will be within, technically, the four walls of what we have here. It's also voluntary, and there's also an element of flexibility here. And it's also important to state that it's without prejudice to the effect that whatever we say here cannot be used as evidence in court. It's neutral, and it's also self-determinant. What that means is that we have to agree on what would work effectively for both parties. And before I continue, do you have any question on all I've said thus far? David, Mr. Harvey, any questions?
Good so far. All good.
Okay, how about you, David? Do you have any questions?
Not so far. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think at this point, it's important to state certain ground rules which would help us in having an amicable resolution. First is that I would crave your indulgence to please put your phones on silent, or preferably you could switch it off. So since we're having an online session, can you please confirm to me by a show of turn that this session is not being recorded, as that would be a break of confidentiality? David, is it being recorded? Yes or no?
No, not recorded.
Not recorded. How about you, Mr. Harvey? I hope it's not being recorded.
No, it is recorded, but if you want, I can stop the recording.
Oh, I would really crave your indulgence to please stop recording, because mediation is confidential.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's also very important that when each of you is speaking, there should be no interruptions. And I can promise you that I would allow parties speak in turns. So when party A is speaking, party B should please not interrupt, and vice versa. And last but not least is that there should be no use of abusive languages, sarcasms, or innuendos in any way, manner, or form. And if at any point in time you feel I'm being partial, kindly please call my attention to it. And if it persists, I would recuse myself from this session. I've already confirmed authorities and representation. So before I get to hear from Mr. Harvey, I don't know whether there is any other question before we start.
Yes,
No.
we may start.
Okay, then thank you so much. So okay, so Mr. Harvey, could you please tell us why we are here and what you would like to get from this session? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity given to speak on behalf of my client, Mr. Andrew Goldman. I would like to brief about the case first. My client, Mr. Andrew, was an employee with Heritage Factories for 5 years. Heritage Factories is doing pretty well, seeing their company profile, etc. It's a foreign-owned company, and they are having outlets in Canada and other European countries. So, company is doing pretty well. Till now, my client was doing pretty fine with the company, and he had a cordial relations. And the company is into the business of manufacturing sneakers. Okay, and my client's job profile was to seal the polythene bags in which the sneakers were packed. He was doing his job very diligently, and he had no issues with the company so far. But one untoward incident which happened, which has brought this dispute. Now, since we have appointed you as a mediator, we would like to show our intention to resolve the issue rather than exploiting the company at any point. So, while my client was sealing the polythene bags, his attention, he was a very diligent guy. So he just saw one of his colleagues sleeping off while doing his job. And fearing an accident and to save the company, in the larger benefit of the company, he just turned and tried waking up his colleague. Before he could turn back to his own work, very unfortunately, so his 2 fingers were chopped. And he was in deep pain. We are thankful to the company for paying the compensation for his treatment, but that's not enough for my client, and he has still not recovered, and the doctors have suggested that he requires an artificial limb. Now, the cost of the artificial limb is extremely high, which my client cannot afford. And my client is young, in his mid-30s, and if he wants to be gainfully employed forever in his life, he needs that artificial limb. So he's requesting company, apart from this treatment, why don't you pay for my artificial limb plus some compensation till the time I get back to work? But company is just refusing. They're being very arrogant with him, and they're literally treating him like a slave. And and also the company is blaming him for his carelessness. Mr. Fola, is this a mockery? My client was trying to save the company, and he is being accused of being not very careful. This is just, this is making us think that there is some kind of a partiality towards the local people who are employed in the company. Rather, my client was extremely vigilant. My client is not even very qualified. He's not having a degree to be gainfully employed somewhere else. And there are even companies trying to link up his past character records with this incident. So we see it as an absolute opportunist escapism from the company to pay and own the responsibility to see to it that this person who has worked for 5 years in this company is not being taken care. This is absolutely. So our argument is the termination on the ground of past report or his inability to perform work further? Our second question is the accident was inevitable, either of Andrew or his colleague. So company had to compensate someone. And the loss could have been bigger, a loss of life also could have been there. So he has saved company from a bigger catastrophe rather than just getting the catastrophe on himself of having 2 fingers cut. And we only request company to pay him the compensation along or keep him in some other job, give him other job for which my client is even ready to get trained. So whatever is his current physical limitations, he is looking to continue his employment in the company, maybe not the same capacity, but some other capacity. He has risked his life, and company can definitely do so much for him. And that is our request. And the second option is to go for full and final settlement. So we are proposing two options, either to give him an employment along with the compensation, or do one time full and final compensation so that he can survive. So this is what our case is, and we would like to hear. And please, we want justice, Mr. Kola.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Harvey. By way of summary, so essentially, I'm just going to try to see if I captured the essential points of what you just said along with what you want. According to your good self, you said your client was an employee with Heritage Factories, and he got into an accident, which made him lose 2 of his fingers. And as a result of that, he's not been able to work, and he's been trying to see if he could get an official, get the company to pay for an artificial limb. And according to you, you said he's worked for 5 years, and essentially
Yes.
what you're looking at in terms of what you want from this session is to either get the company to pay a compensation, or they give him a job, if not necessarily in the capacity he used to work with, but another capacity. And in another breath, you also said you would. So I think you proposed 2 options. The first option is a compensation along with an employment. And what's the second?
Yes.
What's the second option?
And the second option is of having a full and final settlement.
Okay.
And also, in the first option, even to pay for his artificial limb.
Okay. So so that I can capture what you have said, because this would essentially form the agenda of what it is we want from the session. So I would like to take it again. So the first is to actually have you asked for an artificial limb. Yes. Then the second is a compensation.
Yes.
And what's the third?
And his employment in the company should continue in a different capacity.
Okay, so employment with compensation. Does that capture essentially what you want?
Yes, and with the artificial limb. And if company cannot do that, then do once and for all the full and final settlement of some amount.
Okay, so Mr. Harvey, let me now. So if I understand that, we have 4 things on the agenda. First is an artificial limb. Second is a compensation with an employment. The third is a compensation, a compensation as full and final settlement.
Yeah, that is an order. Yeah, that is order. Full and final. This 2 things or full and final settlement.
Okay, all full and final. Okay then. Okay, before I move over to David, is there any other thing you would like to add to what you have set us for?
No.
No. Okay. So I'm going to crave your indulgence, Mr. Harvey, to please put yourself on mute, and while I speak to David. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, so David, can I get your response to what Mr. Harvey has said on behalf of his client, and what you would also want from this session? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to point out that you mentioned that your client is very diligent, and just this occasion, this mediation session shows how much he's diligent, that he didn't even send a message that he will not show up on this discussion. And as I know him during the last 5 years, it's a typical behavior from him. So the diligence cannot be taken for granted from him. But okay, we can manage this, of course, with the lawyer, and I accept your full authority to represent him. But it would have been really helpful if he could show up as other times during his employment. What I would like to add to what Mr. Harvey described is that it's very good that he said to us, to me, what is the expectation of his client. That's very nice, but before deciding on all these requests, we should examine the behavior of our former employer. So there are important facts to discover in this mediation, and once we could clear out all what happened and how he behaved, and if it belongs to his competency to decide if somebody's life was in real danger or not. So we need to clarify these aspects to be able to see what compensation, if any, we can give.
Okay, so David, are you done? Because with what you just said, or do you have any other thing to add to what you have just said?
Yes, I would like to go through all what happened to clarify the issues, because I don't accept the claims from Mr. Harvey.
Okay, so if we're looking at what Mr. Harvey has said on behalf of his client, they have raised three. They've raised three issues. The first is that of an artificial limb, they're looking at also a compensation with a part compensation, so to say, with an employment, if maybe not necessarily in the capacity that he used to hold it. And if that does not work, if that is not okay by you, your company, they're also looking at a full and final settlement. So can I get your reaction to this? David, can I get your reaction to this?
Yes, I'm a little really surprised that all the questions are raised first, what he's asking. I first want to see what really happened and to clarify in this scenario, because I can't respond what he wants without clarifying why he wants all these things.
Okay, so if I understand it clearly, you need clarification in terms of what exactly, so that I can know how to put it in context. Clarification in terms of what, if I may ask?
Clarification that responsibilities, if he acted in accordance with the company's rules, and if he behaved like all what we teach to our employees about safety regulations, if he complied with all these rules. Because without this, I can't guarantee any of these compensations.
Okay, so if I understand you clearly, David, you would like clarifications on the responsibility of Andrew in accordance with the company's rules and employee safeties. So the response from Harvey will now make you look at the options that they have on the table. Does that pretty much capture what it is you just said?
Yes.
Okay, then. So I'm going to go over to Mr. Harvey. So Mr. Harvey, can I get your reaction to what David has said? She would like,
sure.
Yes, so she would want clarification to know whether your client actually acted in accordance with the company's rules in terms of employee safety. So I guess your response would aid her in looking at the agenda on the list in terms of what your client wants from this session.
Yes, surely. First of all, I'm quite sad to know the company's behavior, that again they accuse my client for not showing up today without knowing the fact that why he has not been shown up. So this is the behavior which is companies persistently following. My client is in deep pain right now because of his 2 fingers are cut, and that's the reason he has not shown up. He was definitely, his intention was to come today, but he could not come because of his current health situation. And even if he was there, I was the one who was going to represent his matter. So in any ways, I am authorized to represent this matter. So please don't link up his not being present with his character issues, which has been brought up in the company. So I would ask Mr. David to refrain from such a behavior for my client.
Secondly, excuse me.
Okay, so can I please crave your indulgence? Can you remember the ground rules, David? So if you have any questions, you could just please note it down so that we don't have parties interrupting each other. Can we do that, David?
For both sides, please.
For
yes.
Both, yes. Okay. And Mr. Harvey, remember one of the ground rules about the use of language? Could we be a bit more circumspect so that we don't get each other agitated? Can we do that?
I have not used any foul language. I'm just drawing the attention of the company to not speak without knowing the facts and accuse my client. I'm only requesting that and refrain from doing that.
Okay.
To Mr. David.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So could you please continue?
Yes. So I would like to, at many times when something is in danger, the intent and the motive is a priority to be seen in the action rather than following rules. He will not remember the book rules at that point of time. He may have breached. I'm not very sure. I need to check with my cross-check with my client, but he may have breached some rules. But the intention and the motive was to save the company from the bigger losses and bigger catastrophe, which my client has done successfully, and he has sacrificed his 2 fingers for the company. And today the company is not even ready to appreciate that, rather than just escape from their responsibility to compensate and take away his employment. And this is extremely inhuman. They should have a separate committee to check whether this was in the rules or this was outside the rules.
Okay. So, David, does that answer your question? Because by way of summary, what Mr. Harvey has said on behalf of his client was that at the point when this incident happened, the ultimate intention of his client was to save the company, and in the event his client lost 2 of his fingers. So probably at that point, what was on the client's mind, what was on Mr. Andrews' mind was not the company rules and safety, but to try and save the company from a bigger loss. I don't know whether that pretty much captures the summary of what you were trying to say, Mr. Harvey.
Yes, you have captured it very well, Mr. Fowler.
Okay, thank you so much. So can I get your response to that, David?
Mm-hmm. I would like to respond to 2 things. First, I would like to ask you that please ask Mr. Harvey not to give instructions for me what to refrain from and what to not to refrain from, because I'm here also to speak on behalf of my company. And if I say something wrong, it's not Mr. Harvey who gives me the instructions. It's you, Fola. Thank you very much. And the second thing is, I asked that we need to discover if our former employer was corresponding with the rules, and his lawyer just admitted that he was not compliant with the company rules. And you know, I know all the company rules because me and my team make sure that everybody learns these rules because they really save lives. And these rules are designed in a way that if some danger arises, if the people comply with these rules, it can save lives. And it's the clear example that our employer didn't comply with the rules, so the accident happened. And it's not that we would like to escape from responsibility if we have any, it's that we would like to make a balance. What he didn't comply with, that doesn't count on our responsibility. So thank you for admitting that our former employer didn't comply with the rules. It's a good basis to start our negotiations on, I think. And then we can see what our company, the Heritage Factories, didn't comply.
Okay, so are you done, Mr. David?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Harvey, I think this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to have to break this into a caucus session. So if we continue to do this, there's going to be a lot of back and forth. So I'm going to go into a private conversation first with David. Then I would now come back to you, Mr. Harvey. Is that okay by you, Mr. Harvey? Yes. Okay. So what I'm going to do is to put you in a caucus room while I have a conversation with Mr. Harvey, with Mr. David. And while you're there, could you please just please think of creative ways we can have this session resolved? Can you do that for me, Mr. Harvey?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. So, could you please let me? I'm going to create a breakout room right now. And
Ola,
then
there is one created. Harvey, you should see it, and you can just
Okay.
go there.
So, Alex, could you please move? Okay, I think. Oh, great. So, David. So this is the So this is the caucus room. Essentially, everything you say here will be in confidence between the two of us. And one of the reasons why we usually make use of a caucus room is where we sense there's going to be some kind of deadlock. So, and I can assure you that anything you say to me here is going to be in strictest confidentiality, unless you give me instructions to take it out there and have a conversation with Mr. Hadley. So I just have a question to ask you, David. When scenarios like this happen in your organization, what's your company's first response to it, especially when you have treated the employees and they still want more?
I'm sorry, I don't get exactly the question.
Okay, I'll take the question again. I said, when scenarios like this present themselves in your company where an accident happens and your company takes steps to treat them, but the employee still wants more in terms of requests being made, something similar to what Mr. Andrew is making right now. What's usually your company's response to this?
First, we completely examine the situation, what happened, if the employee corresponded with our rules, because for us, there are two things important. First is that this is a dangerous workplace, and we have to make sure that all of our employees understand that this is really important to keep all the rules, and we make no exceptions that they are undiligent and not taking care of the rules. And then we solve the situation with money. The first important rule is that they follow the rules. So we need to examine what happened, what was the problem. And then if there is something that we need to change in our policies, then we update our policy. And then we take care of the person within the company that we can somehow manage his life, because we understand that if there was an accident, he kind of made the sacrifice for the sake of our company. So we have a certain understanding of the humanity aspect, but our reputation and our rules are very important for us.
Okay, so if I get you clearly, from what you said, essentially when incidents like this happen, your company takes care of the employee within the scope of the company. I don't know whether that pretty much captures what you just said.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
I said, for the summary of what you just explained to me now is that when incidents like this happen, your company takes care of the employees within the scope of the company. Am I correct?
Yes.
So, so if I ask you, David, in your opinion, how best do you consider this to be amicably resolved? What would you consider to be the best approach towards having this amicably resolved?
To be honest, we were not satisfied with his job. I'm not surprised that this accident happened. So there was no specific incident to make a layoff to fire him before. But after this accident, I don't see any possibility to work together. He's just not fitting into our team. So what I would like is to find a way to make a final settlement and say goodbye to each other.
So if I understand you clearly, you said while he was in employment with you, you were not satisfied with his work, and you would rather go with the option of the full and final settlement.
Yes.
Now, if we're going to put a figure to what you consider to be an amount for full and final, do you have any figure? Of course, I don't need to. I may not disclose the figure to them, but I just want to know whether there's a figure you're looking at in terms of what you consider to be full and final. So that while I'm having a conversation with them, and with your permission, if I tell them that you'd rather go with the option of the full and final, then we can now start negotiating.
Yes, I have a figure, and I also would like that it's not just about the money. It's about the saving the face of our company, that we can present to our customers, to our employees, to our owners, to other business stakeholders, that our company followed all the rules, and it was not because of our mistake, but he break the rules. So we need to find something to from his side to show this, to make it clear. And the maximum amount that we could pay him is $500,000, but I would be happy if it's a little bit less than 500,000. Oh, I don't hear you.
So if I, by way of summary, you're disposed to this matter being resolved amicably, you're going with the option of an amount without admittance of liability. I think I pretty much captured that when you said you would want to save the face of the company without
Yes.
the company admitting to it.
Yes, but we are not paying this money because we accept the liability. We pay this money because we care for our people, but it's not our liability. And then I would like to find a solution that it's clearly expressed in front of all the company and all the stakeholders.
Okay, and by way of a figure, you're looking at maximum of 500,000 US dollars. I don't know what I got that right. Okay.
Yes.
So which of this information would you like me to keep confidential before I go and have a conversation with Mr. Harvey?
The exact amount, I would like that you keep it confidential. You may tell him that we are happy to make a full and final settlement, but with the reservation that it's not acceptance of liability from our side. And we clearly would like something from his side to make it clear for all our stakeholders that it was his responsibility. And it's an act of kindness from our company to pay this amount.
Okay, then. So if I understand you clearly, David, you're happy to make a full and final settlement without an acceptance of liability, and for now, you would want me to keep the amount private without letting them know.
Yes,
I don't know whether that
exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So thank you so much for this, David. I'm going to go over and have a conversation with Mr. Harvey. So while this is going on, I'll please crave your indulgence to still please keep thinking of creative ways by which we can have this matter resolved amicably. So one thing I always try to make parties understand where mediation is concerned is that the powers belong to the parties, and it's always there's to be a bit of back and forth and back. So right now, you would please move over to the caucus room while I have a conversation with Mr. Harvey, and when I'm ready, I'll call for you back. Thank you. Alex,
okay.
Could you please, thank you. Could you please take David into the caucus room, please? Oh, thank you. Hello, Mr. Harvey.
Hello.
I hope I didn't keep you waiting for too long.
No, it was okay. It was for a fruitful reason.
Okay. So if I look at the options you had on the table, you basically had two options. The first option was the option of an artificial limb, unemployment, and part compensation on one part. And the second option was a full and final settlement in terms of. Okay, so Mr. David will want to go with the second option of full and final settlement. Yes. So within the scope of full and final settlement, do you have a figure in mind for your clients?
Yes, my client has told me it's a number, but before that, I would like to say that this amount which we are going to spell out is on a human rights ground that has to be kept on an absolute mind. You know, we are not here to exploit the company in any which ways. He has two small children for whom he has to look after. and he has other old parents' responsibility, etc. And keeping all that in mind, and his disability, which has caused, which will not make him gainfully employed for a very long time now. So, and he has to invest in the training, etc. Keeping all these factors in mind, he has proposed the amount of £1 million.
Okay, so if I understand you clearly, Mr. Harvey, on behalf of your client, you're making a proposal of $1 million as full and final compensation for it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I also forgot to add to what I said earlier on that they are happy to actually discuss this option with you, but you have to bear in mind that it has to be without an acceptance of liability, and they are only considering discussing this option because of the fact that your client was an employee with them. But whatever amount that both parties agree to has to be without an acceptance of liability. Is that an option you're comfortable with?
Yes. Could you just explain a little bit further on this? What does that mean by
okay, what this essentially means is that if both of you agree on a settlement sum, it's not premised on the fact that they are conceding to any of the claims that that brought about this issue, but simply on the grounds that this is an amount they're willing to concede to because your client used to be an employee with them, and in the spirit of mediation as this being the full and final settlement sum. So that is essentially what they mean. So they are not admitting to any liability. It's just an amount.
Yes, that sounds fair.
Okay. So usually what I do when parties have agreed on a particular route towards negotiation is that I try to make parties not talk at each other. When I mean talking at each other is having me there, you know, and taking requests from point A to me and then take it back to them. What I usually do is to have parties talk to each other. Now, you have proposed an amount, and would you like me to take this amount back to David? Can I do that?
Yes, and please explain even the reasons behind that amount. Not only the amount.
So I will explain that. I will explain, but my own style usually is to actually have parties talk to each other. Because you see, when parties talk to each other, it's always better and it's always faster. Because if I have to keep doing the whole back and forth, there's a tendency that somewhere in between, communication may get lost in translation. So would you be willing to have a conversation with David on this? If I bring
no, I will be happy if you can tell him the amount first and then put us in a discussion.
Okay, but okay.
I would like to know his reaction first with the amount which you are proposing.
Okay, so I'll go back there, tell them the amount, and when I come back, I'm going to bring both of you into the room, and then we can have a conversation with that. Is that okay by you? Okay,
yes, sure.
So I'm going to have David back in and tell David the amount. In fact, I think I can even have David in here and just say to you, and then would not.
Okay, no problem.
Oh, great.
No problem.
Okay, so David, Alex, could you please bring David back in? Thank you so much. Yeah, hello, David. Oh, you're mute.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, I hope I didn't keep you waiting for too long.
That's okay.
Okay, so David, I've communicated your request of having this matter resolved amicably without an acceptance of liability. So Mr. Harvey has communicated an amount that they consider okay within the view of having this matter resolved. And I was told to communicate the amount to you. So like what I was trying to explain to Mr. Harvey, usually when we get to negotiations like this, I always think it's better when parties don't talk at each other. By talking at each other is having me in between, taking messages from one person to the other, but talking to each other. You see, when parties talk to each other, it makes room for amicable resolution of issues. So if both of you can please promise me that there wouldn't be use of abusive languages and all that, I would really want both of you to have a conversation with each other. So Mr. Harvey has made a proposal of $1 million as full and final compensation of this. And the justification for the $1 million, according to Mr. Harvey, is that his own client has 2 kids and he needs some money to also take care of some certain things. So I would like to get your response to this. But what I'm going to do right now is to also unmute Mr. Harvey. So both of you can have a conversation, and maybe you could tell Mr. Harvey what you have in mind as the amount for full and final compensation. Can we do that?
Yes. Can
Okay.
I have a short question?
Okay, to me or to Mr. Harvey?
Maybe both of you. That you mentioned that Mr. Harvey said that that our former employee has 2 kids, and what has this importance?
Yes, I will. Can I answer, Mr. Follow?
Oh, yes. So like I said, Mr. Harvey, now we're in the most interesting part of mediation where parties get to talk to each other. So please respond. Thank you.
Yes. So it's not only 2 kids. We are just trying to justify the amount in a way that he has many responsibilities to look after, also to equip himself again to be gainfully employed. So he has to take further education or train himself, whatever he wants to do, to be again fully employed, which will take at least 5 years of his life to get back on a track and to come to the same amount of his earning capacity. He has old parents, he has a family to look after. His wife is not earning, she is a housewife, and plus he has 2 young kids for whose education he has to pay and look after his saving as well. So he needs 5 years to build his life again, and he is in this situation too when he was helping your company. So I think the company is not in a situation where they cannot pay this kind of an amount, and the amount is absolutely justified seeing his present circumstances.
So can I get a reaction to that, David, speaking to Mr. Harvey?
Yes. You know, I have two feelings in connection what you just have said to me. We really feel for the families and the young kids, for our employees. And at the same time, we really need to keep our company standards. And we are not able to provide this amount of compensation, but we really would like to show empathy for families, and to show to our employees that families are important for us, and we don't let them behind if one of our employer was in a bad situation. So I think with a smaller amount of compensation, we can work out a solution where your client provides a clear statement in a newsletter, or it's just an ID, or a video presentation that how this matter was handled from us, that he accepts full liability for his action, and he declares that the company didn't break any rules, and it was not the company's fault, and we are willing to pay $5,100 compensation. And also our company has a foundation who takes care of, who provides for educational assistance for kids who are in need. And I think this foundation can provide some background for the kids' education.
Okay, so if I understand you, David, the amount you're putting on ground is $500,000.
Yes.
And provision of needs for the kids, of the kids who are in need. You would make provisions for the kids and the foundation.
Yes.
Yes, and so could you give more context on the video you want Mr. Harvey's clients to make? I didn't quite get that.
Yeah, same.
Yes, it's flexible from our side, but my idea is that we make a report with him that all we show it to all of our employees and stakeholders of the company, where we explain to our employees that how much important it is to keep our safety rules, and your client Harvey explains what he was not doing well, so others can learn from it. So it's beneficial from our employees, and it also states that this accident is not our responsibility.
Okay, so if I understand you clearly, David, you're making a counter for 500,000. You're also making a provision for the kids. You're going to make provision for the kids who are in need through a foundation, and you're requesting for a video to be made on the importance of safety, so that others in employment can learn from it. And I think you said it's not also compulsory, right? I don't know whether I got that correctly.
You mean, what do you mean by not compulsory?
I think you said it was. Is this you mentioned something about it not being compulsory?
I mean, I'm not insisting on that it takes a form of a video.
Okay.
It can be a newsletter or a letter or something else. So the form, he can choose what he's comfortable with. If he's not comfortable with being on a video, we completely understand the written statement. But I would prefer the video from him, because it's much more speaking to the people first, and the second, the $500,000 that we are willing to pay as a full and final settlement with the termination of his role. And we are willing that our foundation takes care of the elementary studies of the kids until they finish the elementary studies. Okay, so you're essentially very flexible in the format, be it a video in the format, or a newsletter. We are flexible with the content. We would like a specific content. Okay, thank you so much. So, Mr. Harvey, can I get your response to this?
Yes, I'm very eager to give the response. Number one, the companies just want to shirk away the responsibility of owning and appreciating my client, Mr. Andrew, that he actually saved the company. Rather, they want him to take the blame that it was his fault and he did not follow the rules, and that's why the accident happened, which is absolutely inhuman. That is number one. Second thing, the amount of 500,000 is not justified because we have a computation from the certified public accountant justifying his amount with actual costs that he's going to incur for everything that is his responsibility is like. So 500,000 is no way justified to even take care of his basic living costs. So this amount is not acceptable. And if company is so much empathetic about for my client, then why don't you offer him an employment? Why you are choosing option number 2, which is not even going to serve him anything? You might as well give him an employment. Why don't you discuss with others in your company and select option 1? Sorry,
this is a real question, or just a question to?
No, a solution. Just a solution to you that this is not no way to extend the empathy. You are making him make a statement which is not right on a human grounds. And if this mediation fails, we are definitely going to human rights court and trying to resolve our matter from that end. So it's not a threat, but if this kind of an amount is offered, we are not really happy and comfortable with it. Either you give us $1 million or as a full and final settlement, or we take or give him an employment and give him a treatment for the artificial limb, or we move to human rights court. We will, otherwise this mediation.
Okay, so Mr. Harvey, if I understand you clearly, you're still insisting on 1 million as full and final.
Yes,
and
yes, because we have a statement of certified public accountant.
Yeah, so you say there's a computation for the justification of the amount, and you're also looking at another option of and the switch of the other option is an employment. So if what does the employment come with? Is it just employment alone without compensation, employment with something else?
No, what we had already said, the treatment of artificial limb, compensation and employment. That will be cheaper for the company, and it will even keep my client will not have to do anything else.
So if I understand it clearly, employment, part compensation, and artificial limb as the second option.
Yes.
Then the first option is a payment of $1 million.
Yes.
Okay, so David, can I get your reaction to this?
Yes, I think I would like Fola to ask you that please ask Mr. Harvey to refrain from comments like inhuman offer to ask his client to make the declaration about the responsibility. It was actually Mr. Harvey who accepted at the beginning of our meeting that his client break the company rules when he did the inappropriate move, and this is the only reason for us to be here. This is the reason that he broke the rules, that he's not supposed to jump up to leave his space and make some other move. It was really his move that caused this problem.
So if I may, Mr. Harvey and David, let's not forget what it is we're trying to achieve in mediation. Mediation is forward thinking and not backward thinking. You know, if we keep going back to what happened, what could have happened, what could not have happened, we'll just continue to live in the past. Now, we've been able to more or less go past that and get to the point of trying to negotiate. So if we keep trying to go back, we're going to find that we're not going to achieve anything at all. Now, Mr. Harvey, if you remember the ground rules about us being a bit circumspect about the words we use, I really appreciate it. We also remember that. So let's go back to where we were and where are we right now? So at the point where we have Mr. Harvey saying that there's a 1 million full and final, or the second option is that of an employment, part compensation, and artificial limb. Now, let me remind you, David, before that was made, we have a $500,000 the provision of for the kids who are in need and a foundation, and a report of some sorts, which is flexible in terms of the importance of safety rule. Now, those are the options we have on the table. Now, the beauty about mediation is that we need to negotiate, come up with something amicable with both parties. So can we go back to the agenda and see what we can, for want of a better way to put it, mix and match until we have something suitable to both parties? Is that something we can do?
Yes.
Let's do that.
So can we have a go at it again?
Yeah. Yes.
So by all means, let's have a conversation around it. So is there some sort of concession you're looking at, Mr. Harvey? Is there some sort of concession you're looking at, Mr. David, towards an amicable resolution of this issue? Let's talk about it.
I suggest.
Yes, Mr. David, I request you once again to go through the computation of our public accountant and then make an offer to us, whether your offer is justified or not justified.
Sorry, I can't get it. Sorry, I don't understand. To make a what?
Yes, I'm requesting you to go through the statement made by our public accountant and then put a number to our, your proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Then you will know exactly what is the reason for asking for this amount.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have also a suggestion. You said that $1 million is needed partly because of the 2 young kids of your client.
No, not only that. Old parents.
So, Mr. Harvey, could you wait? Could she finish so that you can get what she's saying, and then you probably respond? Can we do that?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, yeah, so David, could you please continue?
So my suggestion is that it would be useful to see how much money is it actually that our foundation needs to pay for the education of these kids. That would actually add up to the $500,000 that we pay in cash to your client. So if we consider this for the 2 young kids until their elementary education, I believe that it's even more than $1 million.
Mr. Harvey,
Yes, I did not only say young kids, I also said his old parents who are disabled, his housing loan, his car loan, his wife who is not working, plus his own training. That's why I requested you please go through the computation. So
go to the competition. What does it mean to go to the competition?
Computation.
Compensation.
No. I mean computation, calculation.
Oh, computation. Oh, computation. Okay,
Yes.
meaning that there's a computation, like a justification of some sort as to how they arrived at the $1 million. It had to do with, first of all, the provision of the 2 kids, the fact that he has aging parents, and what else again did you mention, Mr. Harvey?
Is housing loan.
And the housing loan again. So that is
then training. Then the training, he has to be again employed, so he has to educate himself again.
Yes, and the training. So that's the justification in form of a computation as to how they arrived at $1 million.
I'm sorry, our company is not really responsible for all the family issues and surroundings of your client. And as I said to you, the $500,000 and the school payment for the school altogether is more than $1 million. So I don't really understand why we need to even pay some money for the loans and for the elderly parents. All of us have elderly parents and surroundings. This is really outside of our company's
negotiation. Okay.
Competence, yes.
So, Mr. Harvey, can I get a response to this before I decide on whether I would have another caucus session with you or with Mr. David?
Yes, I would like to say, see, this is like taking away your hands of the responsibility why we pay for the aging parents. I think it's not about paying the sacrifice which he made for his your company. He has not done it for his personal benefit. What if that person, his colleague, would have died? You would have had to pay much more. Why you are not considering that?
Because this in this negotiation, we cannot take into account certain facts that didn't happen. We could take into account a hurricane in our city also, but it didn't happen. Sorry, we can only rely on facts that happened.
What do you have to say, Mr. Fola?
Well, what I would have suggested is just is that we should actually go into, I would have loved to go into another caucus session with you, Mr. Harvey, then have a certain conversation with you surrounding what you have here and Mr. David, and then we take it up from there. But in view of the time we have left, maybe what we will do is to have parties think about the options they have on the table, and then we'll fix another date, and then we'll continue with the session. How does that look like? Bearing in mind, before we adjourn, that Mr. Harvey, what we have on the table right now is the option of $1 million as a full and final, and your justification for the $1 million is premised on the fact that he has 2 children, he has aging parents, he has a training to attend. He has a training to attend to, and you mentioned the 4th one. I think I must have missed it. You mentioned one other one, Mr. Harvey. You mentioned
yes, his housing loan
and the housing loan. Yes, and the housing loan. So that's what you have on the table now. Mr. David has 3 options on the table. The option of $500,000 as a full and final, then the provision of kids, and according to her, she says that if we compute what may go into this, it may even exceed the $1 million being requested for by yourself, and a report, be it in form of a video or a newsletter, advising people to remain safe. So what we will do is that this is actually a good take-home point for parties to actually think about the options on the table, and then we'll come back at the next session and we'll agree on another date, and then we'll look at these options again. Is that okay by parties?
Yes. In the meantime, I will also get back to my client and discuss with him the proposal given by the heritage
Okay.
company.
And David, so could you also run this by your clients too? And peradventure, probably on the next day of adjournment, maybe your client will be available, and then we'll see what we can, we'll take it up from there. Can we all do that?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we'll agree on a date, and we'll take it up. So thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of the day.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
Yeah.